Hi, very good morning. Now I'm starting with another series that is how you read X-ray, particularly X-ray chest. Now you know very well, I'm Dr. Janak Patel. I'm a general physician. I'm not a radiologist. I'm not an expert in radiology, but still I'll try to make it as simple as possible so that you can read a routine X-ray chest, what you order for. So we'll try to make it as simple as possible. But before starting this, I would like to make something very clear that I'm not really an expert, but still, whatever are the main principles in an radiology, I'll try to utilize those to identify some of the common problems you face in your everyday practice. When you order an X-ray chest, you are at an advantage that when an X-ray report comes to you, it is already mentioned what is there in an X-ray. But some of the times, what an radiologist gives you an answer may be not fitting with your diagnosis. You are at an advantage that whenever you order an X-ray chest, you know what the person is complaining of. What is your provisional diagnosis? Because you have done an examination, you have taken a good history, you have done a respiratory system examination, and you have come to the closest differential diagnosis. Provided if you have given that differential diagnosis to a radiologist will always give you the best answer and you can take an advantage of that. But when you don't mention those particular findings, what you have looked in a patient, you may be misinterpreted. So always take the advantage of your history, clinical examination, what is your differential diagnosis, what a radiologist thinks of, and if possible, communicate with the radiologist, give him the old X-ray, ask for an old X-ray, give the radiologist the old X-ray for comparison, and give the detailed data of a patient for comparison. So that will give you more advantage. So let us start with an X-ray. Now you can see here in this X-ray chest, there is a clear-cut cardiomegaly. There is one shadow which shows you radio opaque, plus there is one wire which is going on like this, and this is going right up to RV. So this is a pacemaker and this is a single chamber pacemaker. So if you got a sound knowledge, you will be able to pick up all those different things. So again, I'll try to make it as simple as possible so that you can understand very well. Once you understand what you are going to look for, you will remember and you will try to recognize whenever you look at the X-ray chest, and you know how to recognize, you will be able to differentiate between what is normal and what is abnormal. So first you should know what is normal. If this is not normal, this is abnormal. So that is what you should be able to identify. Then only you will be able to recognize what is abnormal. And then you'll try to find out what is abnormal. So we'll try to go through all those things. So we'll be discussing in this particular introduction in which condition you ask for X-ray chest, what is the indication, in which condition you should not go for X-ray chest, that is contraindication, what are the different types of views you ask for, that is we call orientation, what are the different terms we utilize, interpretation, that is how you start reading, etc. We'll be discussing those. Now, X-rays are invisible rays, cosmic rays, which are generated by an X-ray instrument, which passes through the different tissue. Depending upon the type of the tissue, that beams, X-ray beam is absorbed. And some are passed, some are not passed. The beam which passes through the tissue and if it falls on an X-ray plate, it will appear what we call as a radiolucent. And the beam which is completely absorbed does not pass through, do not fall on an X-ray plate, that will appear what we call as an opaque. So this is the basic principle what is being there. So a thing which appears on an X-ray absolutely white or we call opaque is usually a dense tissue like bone, while the tissue which partially allows, so that appears gray in color, and which allows the entire X-ray beam to pass through, that is radiolucent, and air is that low absorbent capacity. So you got a, from radiolucent, if you go towards opaque, air is the most radiolucent, then comes fat, liver, blood, muscles, bones, and most radio opaque is lead. Barium is little less than lead, and bone is little less than barium. So these are radio opaque material. This is absolutely radiolucent, and this falls between the two, that is fat, liver, blood, muscles, myocardial tissue, etc. And this is how you will be able to differentiate. So if you see a radio opaque material, they are usually bones. See, this is a radio opaque material, this is metal. So the most radio opaque material is usually a metal one. See, this wire is a radio opaque. This is what we call as a myocardium. So that is radio opaque. While lung contains lot of air, so that is radiolucent. You can see this particular wire, and in that you can see this particular, this is ICD, this is ICD, this is a pacemaker. Depending upon, you will be able to identify as we discuss further and when we talk about the foreign bodies. So the most common indication of X-ray chest is you want to evaluate respiratory system, cardiovascular system, and if a person complains of certain symptoms which are suggestive of involvement of respiratory system or cardiovascular system like cough, chest pain, shortness of breath or we call dyspnea, hemoptysis, fever with these complaints, unexplained weight loss, etc., you will ask for X-ray chest. Some clinical finding like hypoxia, abnormal finding in pulmonary examination, evaluation of a nasogastric tubes, endotracheal tubes, central lines. You want to find out whether they are placed properly or not. Then screening for pneumothorax after lung biopsy or central line or pacemaker placement, because after a lung biopsy or a central line placement or a pacemaker placement, very common complication is a pneumothorax. You want to identify whether the pneumothorax has occurred or not. So you will ask for an X-ray chest post procedure. Evaluation for pacemaker, lead fracture, pacemaker, what we call as failure. You want to find out is there the lead has been dislodged or there is a fracture. Sometimes in a case of a physical examination and pre-employment checkup, also you can ask for X-ray chest. There are also other indication if the person complains of any one of these symptoms. Bad persistent cough, chest pain, person is having a chest injury, hemoptysis, fever with this complaint like cough, expectoration, hemoptysis, shortness of breath, dyspnea, PND, orthopnea, cyanosis, tachypnea, dysphagia, cardiorespiratory assessment, etc. You will ask for an X-ray chest. Even clinically, if you are suspecting pleural effusion, pneumothorax, hemothorax, pulmonary embolism, traumatic injury, monitoring chest drainage tubes, tuberculosis, perforation of duodenal ulcer, or we call as a pneumoperitoneum, then lung malignancy, MI, hypertension, for screening purpose, pneumonia, COPD, bronchial asthma, there is a big list. So any suspected respiratory or cardiovascular condition, you will ask for X-ray chest. What are the contraindications? One, repeated X-rays during pregnancy. Ideally relative contraindication, but you should take a precautions. During childbearing age also, try to have those precautions. In a newborn, neonates, children, repeated X-ray is relatively contraindication. If X-ray chest is not indicated and it is not going to help you at all, don't ask for X-ray chest. That is the major contraindication. Now, what are the different views? One, in a standing posture, or we call erect posture. By and large, almost all X-rays are asked in a standing posture, or we call erect posture or upright posture. And what are the different views you ask in an upright posture? PA view, AP view, lateral views, lordotic views. These are the common. Sometime, even in a standing posture, you can ask for an oblique views. In a lateral, rotate them slightly, you can have an oblique views. So these are the common conditions which you ask for. We'll be talking about what is PA, AP, lateral views, etc. So you can ask for an oblique view also, right anterior oblique, right posterior, left anterior, left posterior obliques. Supine is usually asked in a person who are in a bedridden position or person who cannot stand up. So in that position, you ask for a supine X-rays. By and large, in a supine X-ray, AP view is the most common view. You cannot have an PA view. So it is very, very difficult to have an PA view in a supine posture. In supine posture, you can get right lateral, left lateral, and even obliques sometimes, if required. And in an oblique, you can go for right anterior oblique, posterior oblique, left anterior, left posterior obliques. Usually lateral views are taken to identify the lobes, to look for LA, that is left atrium, right ventricle, esophagus, retrosternal area, and whenever you are taking a barium bolus or barium swallow, lateral view is a must. Now, to have a little idea regarding a PA view, if you want to visualize the anterior structure like heart, PA view is the best answer. And if you want to visualize the spine and posterior structure, AP view is necessary. Whenever 2 or 3 structures are overlapping and you cannot differentiate them in a PA view or AP view, you may ask for a right lateral or left lateral. If the structure is more on the left side, you will ask for a left lateral. If it is on the right side, you will ask for a right lateral. So if there is a structure on the right side and it is overlapping, you will ask for a right lateral. And whenever you want to identify the apical lobe of lung, which is overlapped by clavicle, in that case you will ask for a lordotic view, because clavicle will overlap little portion of a apical lobe. In that case, you ask for a lordotic view, or we call apical view. So here I am explaining what are the different views. So if a beam is coming from anterior, that is anterior part of the chest, and falls on the X-ray plate which is placed posteriorly, it is called AP view. And this particular view is taken to identify the posterior structure like spine, esophagus, etc. While in a PA view, the beam will fall from posterior and it will fall on the X-ray plate which is placed anteriorly. So it will be very helpful to look at the anterior structures like heart. So whenever you want to look at the heart, you ask for a PA view. While in a person, if there are 2 structures which are overlapping and you want to differentiate which is anterior or posterior, you ask for a lateral view. If it is on the right side, you will ask for a right lateral. If it is on the left side, you will ask for a left lateral. So depending upon that. And in a lateral view, you will be looking at the anterior structure, posterior structure, and the structure which are in the middle part. Most common indication for a lateral view is a mediastinal structures which you want to differentiate. It belongs to which area? Anterior mediastinum, middle mediastinum, posterior mediastinum, etc. And still if you can't identify, you can ask for an oblique view. So these are the things. And the distance between the tube and the X-ray plate is 180 centimeters. This is roughly what you do, what we call as a common projection terminology. So have this particular idea. So here there is one particular explanation. You can see that when you take a PA view, the structure which is anterior gives you an accurate size. So heart is accurate. So heart is anterior structure. So this size is almost accurate. While when you take a AP view, heart is anterior. So beam while passing through the heart gives this much expansion, or we call exaggeration. So that will give a false image on an X-ray plate, and person will be diagnosed as cardiomegaly, which is of exaggerated size, and that gives you a false impression. So never give an answer regarding a cardiomegaly when it is a AP view. So it is a wrong thing. So this is the PA view. You can see the beam will be falling from posterior and it will fall on the plate which is kept anterior. The distance is 180. So this is PA in erect. And you will get the exact size of the heart. Exact size of the heart. So try to look for that. Is that clear? This will be the distance. While in a AP view, you can have an erect posture, or also you can have in a supine posture. So that is mainly for spine, aorta, posterior structures. In supine, mainly in an ICU, or if a person who is been operated, he cannot be erected, or person in a shock stage, person who is unconscious. So in those conditions, you ask for a supine posture AP view. So that will be there. Now in this particular view, there will be lot of things which will be interfering. Clavicle will interfere. There will be magnification of the heart size over the mediastinum. Ribs will appear distorted. Pulmonary markings will be having a less visibility. The costophrenic angle will be blunted. All this will interfere with your diagnosis. This is what we call as an AP view. The plate is here, beam is coming from here, and the distance is only 90 centimeter. And you can see this, you cannot visualize diaphragm clearly, you cannot see the costophrenic angle, the ribs are not clearly seen. So this will be one of the drawback of getting a supine posture AP view. In an erect posture, it will give a little better idea. So this is a difference between a AP view and a PA view. You can go through at your leisure time. Whatever we have discussed before, that you can see. In a PA view, all things will be better. So scapula will be separated out, clavicle will not come interfere, no cardiac magnification, fundus air will be seen clearly, anterior ribs will be prominent, and marker will be also present, where it will be mentioned PA view. Vertebra will not be seen clearly, while in an AP view, vertebra will be better seen, while all these things will interfere in an AP view. You can go through at your leisure time. So this is the difference between a PA view and AP view. You can see the difference. Here fundus can be seen clearly. You can't see the fundus here. This is in a supine posture. This appears cardiomegaly. Diaphragm, costophrenic angle may not be as clear as you see in a PA view. Clavicle will interfere. Bronchovascular marking will not be clearly identifiable. Lungs will not be clearly seen. This is a portable. Here it is clearly mentioned. Portable AP erect. So this is in an erect posture. That's why it is little better. But if it is in a supine posture, it will be extremely difficult. In a lordotic view, person is placed at a certain angle so that the clavicles are separated. You can see this clavicle. Clavicle gets separated out. So whenever you want to see the apical lobe, you will ask for a lordotic view. So for identifying the apical lobe, for tuberculosis, malignancy, or there is one tumor we call as a Pancoast tumor, apical lobe tumor. So that you can differentiate very clearly when you go for an apical view, or we call as a lordotic view. So this is mainly for apex of the lung. This is one thing what is being taken in a children, because children cannot stand straight. They'll go on moving around. So there is one table which is called Pig-O state table. And on that table, the child is kept in this position and then the X-ray plate is taken. So this is for immobilization in a pediatric groups. So you should have this facilities whenever you want to take an X-ray chest in a small children. This is lateral view. When you are taking a lateral view, this is left lateral because left side is touching the chest. So this is left lateral. This is right side. This is left side. So this is left lateral. So in a left lateral in a erect posture, if I want to see the left lung and left side of the chest more clearly, I'll go for the left lateral. And in that position, this will be the middle part, this will be the anterior part, and this will be the posterior. So this is anterior, this is middle, and this is posterior. So we call anterior mediastinum, middle mediastinum, posterior mediastinum. So posterior mediastinum is a retrocardiac area, middle mediastinum is a cardiac area, and anterior mediastinum is a retrosternal or anterior to cardiac area. So these are the three structures which can be divided in a lateral view, and you may be able to separate out whether it is in a posterior mediastinum, so it is in a retrocardiac area, or it is close to the cardiac, or it is in the lung, or it is between the sternum and pericardium, or we call heart shadow. So all those you can identify in a lateral view. So this is the way you ask for. Now decubitus position, good number of time you ask for a right decubitus or left decubitus, particularly in a person who has got a fluid which is there in a chest and which you cannot identify very clearly, or there is a subdiaphragmatic effusion, or if a person has got a hydropneumothorax, or a person has got a pneumothorax. In all this condition, you ask for a, depending upon which side it is, accordingly you ask for. Air always goes to the top. So if there is a hydropneumothorax on the right side, you can ask for a right lateral decubitus. If it is on the left side, left lateral decubitus, because fluid will come at the bottom and air will be on the top. So you will be able to differentiate much better. So that will be the way you can differentiate. So minimal pleural effusion to confirm the air fluid level, air in the abdomen, etc. You will ask for a decubitus, and in a decubitus, which decubitus? Right side, left side, that is particular. So here you can see that this particular person, the cassette is here. The beam is coming from this side, and this is a table. So if you look at this, this is a left lateral. So this is the left side of the person. This is the right side of the person. So left side is touching the table. So it is a lateral decubitus. So left side is touching the table. So it is a left lateral decubitus. And you are taking a picture. So any pathology which is there on the left side, or sometime only air in the right side, can be also identified by this. Mainly it is utilized for minimal effusion, hydropneumothorax, or we call as air and fluid levels, or sometime even in a case of a pneumoperitoneum. If you want to identify, you can go for a lateral decubitus postures. So this is lateral. You can see here, this is right side of the patient, which is touching the, what we call as a table, and this is an X-ray plate. So this is a right lateral decubitus. This is a lateral decubitus, and it is the right side which is touching. So right lateral supine posture, or you can call right lateral decubitus posture, and you're taken. So you are mainly going for a right side pathophysiology. So in that case, you will be taking a right lateral. You can see here, when a lateral view is taken, the fluid which was here has come out, and you can clearly identify the fluid. So this particular is very useful where you cannot identify very clearly a pleural effusion or a, what we call as air fluid level, loculated fluid, etc. You want to differentiate those conditions. We'll be asking for those lateral view. See this lateral views. It will come out. You can see clearly that fluid will come out in a lateral view. Obliques, I've told you, when 2 or 3 structures are overlapping, you do not identify or separate them clearly. You ask for an oblique view. Here if you see, the left side is touching the table. It is not purely a left side. with a left side, little part of the posterior part is also touching the table. So it is left posterior oblique. So person is on the left side, left lateral, and then it is tilted little bit. So to get that left posterior part of the chest touching the table, and then the X-ray plate is kept here, and you can have a view. You can see here, this is the posterior part of a left side, again touching the table. So this is LPO view. Now whenever you are taking a view, it is very important. Say this is a view which is taken in a AP view, upright posture, and this is a PA view. This is a PA view. Heart size is normal, and you can see a shadow here, radio opaque shadow. So, and this is a curvature we call meniscus sign. Now same person in a supine posture, see, you can't differentiate a diaphragm on this side clearly. You cannot make out the border of the heart very clearly, and you cannot identify the lung pathophysiology. And here you can clearly identify. So there is a unilateral increased density you can see in supine posture, and the mediastinum, clavicle, those cannot be separated very nicely. Costophrenic angle you cannot make out. Same person. Now if you take this particular person, say this is the lateral decubitus, and the person is having a haziness here. I am not sure whether this is consolidation, or this is a collapse, or this is a fluid. What I do, I take a right lateral decubitus. The fluid which is here will trickle down. If there is no change here and the shadow is seen in the same area like this, then it is less likely to be fluid. It may be consolidation or it may be collapse. So this is very frequently in a collapse, consolidation or fluid. If you want to differentiate those three, and if you want to differentiate pleural effusion, you will go for a lateral decubitus. You can see this shadow, horizontal shadow, right? I cannot make out whether this is a consolidation or this is a collapse very clearly. I'll go for a what we call as a lateral decubitus. And when I take a lateral view, I see some haziness here. Again, I cannot differentiate very clearly, but this is extending right till posterior, right till here. So to differentiate this as a effusion, this is the best view. Again, you can see this is on the left side, meniscus sign. This is a supine posture, and if I take a left lateral view, this is left side. So left side is lying here. This is the left side. Okay, so fluid has come out. So this is because of a fluid. So this view helps you very, very clearly if you want to identify pleural effusion. Now, don't get surprised when you start reading an X-ray that what is this? This is a foreign body. This is a foreign body. Skull in the chest. Cockroach in the chest. Sometime while taking an X-ray, if the structure comes in between the X-ray beam and X-ray plate, that will be shown on an X-ray. So this was a person who was taking a selfie while taking an X-ray. So that particular has come in the way. This is pacemaker. This is not in the abdomen. This is a fallacy. So try to identify. And a cockroach is not in the chest. It was on the X-ray plate. Interpreting the X-ray. First rule, never get panic. Whenever you see the X-ray, try to find out why that is. Here you can see a cockroach. Here you can see a skull over the X-ray plate. And here this looks like, you can see these are the two eyes. This is like a skull. This is the open cavity like this. But don't get panic. This is not because of that. This is a cavity which is being there. And this is a spine which has got a big kyphosis. can see a kyphosis, and that's why it is giving that particular interpretation. So whenever you get an X-ray chest for reading purpose, always compare with, one should compare a old PA with a new PA. So this is the old PA view, this is a new PA view, and lateral should be also compared. New lateral, first you compare the PA with lateral and also compare with the old lateral. So if possible, if a person got an old X-ray, try to compare with that. And whenever you start reading an X-ray chest, first look at the request form, name, age, sex, date, clinical information, etc. Whether it is mentioned on an X-ray plate or not. Good number of time a good radiologist will mention all these things, name, age, sex, date, where the X-ray was taken, which type of view it is, the markings will be proper, side markers will be there, whether it is an erect posture or a supine posture, all those technical aspects will be mentioned on an X-ray plate. And then when you start reading, some people reads in this particular pattern, soft tissue, bony cage, trachea, heart and mediastinum, diaphragm, pleural space, lung, hidden areas, hyla, diaphragm and below the diaphragm. So whichever way you read, this is one way of reading, and what you look for, it is mentioned here. Another way is 13 step they call. You look at the name, date, position, markers, what type of view it is taken, initial survey, whether the penetration is good or not, whether it is taken on inspiration or expiration, rotation is there or not, angulation is there or not. So this gives you idea regarding a technical quality of an X-ray. And then when you start reading an X-ray, soft tissue, bony structures, mediastinum, diaphragm, lung fields, etc. So you try to look whichever way. This is called the, before reading an X-ray, this is a quality and this is what you are looking for the findings. This is one way. Some people starts, before you start, check the label, orientation, that is we call as a quality, etc. Right and left marker, whether it is PA or AP view, whether it is inspiratory or expiratory films, erect or supine, whether there is any rotation, look for that orientation. Some person will go in this pattern, trachea, bronchi, hilar structure, lung zone, pleura, lung lobes, fissures, costophrenic angle, diaphragm, heart, mediastinum, soft tissue, bones, below the diaphragm and hidden areas. Some person follows ABCD, A for airways, B for bones and soft tissue, C for cardiac aorta and mediastinum, D for diaphragm, E for effusions, that is pleura, F for lung fields, lines, tubes, devices and surgical findings. So whichever way you follow, this is that ABCD pattern, and even they mention F also, F for field and failures. But main important part is identify the lesion, localize the lesion and describe the lesion. So that should be there. Never stop looking the findings. Carry on with your systemic approach. Sometimes you miss something. 10% of the X-ray interpretation will always have an error. And sometimes you miss maybe dangerous one. Say here, there is a fracture clavicle. So this miss is wrong. So fracture clavicle is there, and already the person has given you a history. Look for that fracture clavicle. So if there is a multiple problem, don't focus on many abnormalities. Some misinterpretation is forgivable, some is regrettable, and some misinterpretation you might have to leave that town and stop your practice. So always ask the question, is this a correct patient? Go for a correct history, correct labeling, correct positioning, correct exposure, correct view, and always have two views. Previous films, compare with the old X-rays and review the area again and again. You can see only what you know. Recognition of an abnormal findings, you should have a knowledge of a normal. Overdiagnosis of a normal variation may be more serious than omission. and sometimes may lead to needless and harmful therapy. So you should remember that you don't make overdiagnosis. You also same time do not miss the abnormal findings so that you give a proper treatment to the person. So these are the method by which you usually approach. What we call is a database. You look for the name, age, sex, doctor name, date on which the X-ray is taken, the position, right and left marks, what type of film it is, what was the position of the patient, supine, upright, lateral, etc. And then look for the technical quality. So while you interpreting, you start reading the database and look for the quality of the X-ray. So whenever you go for the systematic approach, always you assess the image quality. And for image quality, you can see here, marking is given very clearly. So marking should be there. And by and large, in a X-ray, the name, etc. should be mentioned on an X-ray plate, because that is the main technique. So good number of time that should be there. And if it is not there, it is not considered as a good quality. Now here they mention rest in peace, R for rotation, I for inspiration, P for penetration. You can look for this or you can look separately. Don't try to remember RIP. You can remember depending upon your ways and means of identifying those. And always also look for artifacts, etc., which can be there because of the poor quality of an X-ray. So what are the technical details? Look for penetration. Look at the inspiration, expiration, rotation, angulation, that is lordotic view, and orientation, that is AP and PA view. So we'll be going one by one. Inner penetration, when it is over penetrated or under penetrated, you will have a different patterns of an X-ray. Same person with different energy of X-ray beams. You can see the three different qualities. So you will have a under penetration, over penetration, etc. So on a high quality radiography, the vertebral body should be just visible through the heart. So this is the best X-ray what you can see. Here I can't see the vertebral bodies. Here I see little more prominent. So you try to get the best X-ray by choosing the proper penetration. Now you can see here in this particular X-ray, so there is a little over penetration. Now this, when it is more opaque, it is under penetration. While when you see through the heart shadow, you see the vertebral bodies more clearly, it is over penetration. So this is underexposed, this is overexposed. So it should be ideally this, where you can see through the heart shadow little amount of the thoracic spine, not like this, not like this. So this is the best film which you can have. So penetration should be good. You can see the difference. This is under penetration, this is over penetration. When it appears more opaque shadows, under penetration. When it is appearing more radiolucent black shadows, this is over penetration. And you can see the thoracic spine much opaque. Is it clear? Then it becomes very difficult. When you have got an AP and a PA view, it makes a difference. In a normal PA view, you will be able to see very clearly. This is a PA view with under penetration. You can see this is more opaque. You cannot identify clearly the costophrenic angle, etc. And this is little over penetration. You can see this is more radiolucent. This is more radiolucent. So this is over penetration. Right? Now when you take in inspiration and expiration, when it is taken in a deep inspiration, the diaphragm, the upper border should be below the 8th rib. So if it is below the 8th rib, it is a good quality under a deep inspiration. But if it is at 7 or 6, it is poor quality. And whenever it is taken in expiration, it is a false cardiomegaly will be there, heart size will change, lung field will change, costophrenic angle will also change. So try to have a look at whether it is taken in a good inspiration or expiration. So this is a good inspiration, and you should be able to calculate the anterior ends of the ribs. You should be able to see a clear cut anterior ends of the ribs, and try to look at the posterior end or the anterior end of the ribs. You can see this is during inspiration, this is during expiration. See the level of the diaphragm. You can see the diaphragm very clearly. You can see the cardiac border clearly. Here, the diaphragm is not clear. Border of the heart is also not clear, and heart appears to be enlarged. There is a little amount of cardiomegaly which will be seen when it is taken in expiration. So, usually in a full inspiration, anterior end should be 6th and posterior end should be 10th. So, try to look at that particular ribs level. Anterior is 6 and posterior end is 10. So look at, this is the anterior end. So it is 6 and this is in expiration. This is at the level of 3rd. So this is a poor quality. This is at the 6th, good quality. Now see this patient. Now if you look in the posterior rib, this is at the 8th rib, and then a deep inspiration is taken. You can see the posterior 9th rib is seen clearly here. So this is good quality. This is poor quality, right? So always look at that anterior end or posterior end. Posterior end should be at least close to 10th and anterior end 6th. So this is poor quality inspiratory effort. This is a full inspiratory effort. You can see right till 9th or 10th. So that will give you a better idea regarding lung and what we call as heart size. See here, marking is good. You can see the ribs. If you look at the posterior, almost 10th rib is seen. So this is a very good quality, very good quality. And when it is taken in a deep inspiration, pneumothorax will be seen much better when it is taken in a deep inspiration. You can see at this marking. I'm going back. Here, these are bronchovascular marking. You can see here bronchovascular marking. This area is more radiolucent. And when a person takes a deep inspiration, you can see this border. That is what we call as partial pneumothorax, which you will be able to identify much better in a deep inspiration. And this is during expiration. You can see the lung has further collapsed. So same patient, during expiration, you will be able to identify this border. I'm just going one film. This is radiolucent area. You can see this is vascular markings seen right up to here. While here, you can't see the vascular marking in this area. So this is roughly the border. So that you will be able to identify much better. This is marked out. So that sometime this can help you. So sometime in an expiration, you will be able to demarcate pneumothorax much more in expiration as compared to inspiration. Now these are the different axes in which you can rotate the person and have a picture. But whenever you are taking an PA view, two clavicles should be at an identical distance from the center. So if this distance is equal, rotation is not there. But if one side distance is less and second side distance is more, there is a rotation. And rotation will give you a false impression of a cardiomegaly or will decrease the amount of cardiac size, as well as some of the shadow will not be seen clearly. So whenever there is a rotation, it can give you a false interpretation. Now you can see here, this is the midline. And if you see this distance of a clavicle, it is equidistance. So there is no rotation. Now if you see here, these are the end of clavicle. There is no rotation. Equidistance. Now look here. See this distance. This is short. This is more. So there is a rotation. So some structure will be seen smaller, some structure will appear big. Here you can see the opposite of that. This distance is less, this distance is more. So right side distance is more, here left side distance is more. So the person is slightly rotated towards the right side, here person is slightly rotated towards the left side. So this will make certain changes in size of heart, as well as some shadow will appear abnormal. So do take this point into account. See here, this distance is little less as compared to this distance. So there is a slight rotation. So try to have that particular in your mind. So rotation will give you a little false impression regarding a different situations. So always look for that rotation. So this is that interpretation. You can see during a rotation, heart size will change. Heart size will change. So heart will appear, if there is a rotation to the right side, heart will appear smaller, and if there is a rotation to the left side, heart will appear little enlarged. So always look at it. Then we have already told you apical. So this is a normal view. This clavicle will interfere with your apical lobe examination. So whenever you take a lordotic view, the clavicles are totally separated, and you can clearly see this apical lobe very clearly. So whenever you are suspecting some apical lobe pathophysiology, like apical tumor or cavity or tuberculosis, thickened pleura, Pancoast tumor, etc., you ask for apical view. And there are certain pitfalls during angulation. So this is during angulation what you look for, and this is the apical, but this structure will appear like this, and when a PA view is taken, this will be the appearance. So always it should be mentioned that in which view it is taken, and accordingly you interpret. So these are all the different types of projection shown in a single picture. This is a PA view, this is a lateral view, this is a AP view, this is a supine AP view, this is a lateral decubitus. You can see that this is a right side of the patient touching the bed, so this is a right lateral, and this is a lordotic view. This left side of the chest is touching the plate, so this is left lateral view in a standing posture. This is a lateral view in a supine posture. So these are all the different views what can be taken. PA view in erect, AP view in erect, AP in supine, lateral, we have already mentioned before, lordotic view, oblique views, etc. So now just I am giving you some of the fallacies what can happen. Say here left is mentioned here, and now view is taken. Now you can see clearly on a left side gastric bubble. So this is definitely clear cut. Gastric bubble should be on the left side except in a situs inversus. So now I am showing you how it can misinterpret. Now here see left and right is not mentioned. Now if you look properly, this is the apex of the heart. This has to be on the left side, and gastric bubble should be on the left side. Instead of that, it is here. So if gastric bubble is on the left side and this is on the right side, this is dextrocardia with normal situs, we call situs solitus. Now what mistake can be done? Now say I am putting a marker. So this is dextrocardia with situs solitus. So if I put this as a right and this as a left, then this is dextrocardia and this is situs solitus. But instead of that, if I put like this, left is marked here, and I put the X-ray plate in a reverse pattern, then this is a right side, so dextrocardia is there, and you can see the gastric bubble is on the right side. So this is dextrocardia with situs inversus. Now you see this is left side, so this is dextrocardia with situs inversus, clearly. Now if you see this is left side, so this is dextrocardia with situs inversus. Clear. This is right side. This is left side. Marking is there. So marking, if it is not there, it will be difficult to identify. And this I've already shown you that three different views. Out of this, these two view will help you a lot. This you can make a diagnosis of pleural effusion. I want to confirm. I will have a left lateral position and X-ray plates, and that will show you that fluid has trickled down. Okay. So this is the importance of a view, different views. And this particular slide shows you how magnification it can do. So AP and PA view, never try to mention cardiac size in a AP view, or we call it a portable view, AP portable films. So that will give you a false interpretation. You can see the same person in a standing posture PA view, and this is AP view. You will have a false cardiomegaly. Now there are some X-rays which can show you additional shadows, we call inclusions, which are not inside the chest. So always try to look for those particular things. Now you can see here there is some shadow seen here, and this is because of the hair. So as soon as the hair is removed, that particular will disappear. At the same time, say there is another artifact what you can come across. If a person is obese, diaphragm is pushed up. Because of pushing up of the diaphragm, the heart is horizontal. You will have a cardiomegaly. You will not be able to identify the dome of the diaphragm clearly, and costophrenic angle also will not be able to identify. So even in an obesity, you will be able to have false interpretation. So try to look for all those things. These are artifacts. This is because of the hair. You are seeing some shadow here. You look on this side and you look on this side. There are little shadows. Those are because of hair artifacts. So here I end my lecture on X-ray introduction and what we call is the quality of an X-ray. We'll be talking of further in next clinic.